Does your child have an IEP or you think they need one? Then you've come to the right place. If they have special education or they need it, then you must know your safeguards so you can make the best decisions with your child. Take a deep breath. I'm going to show you exactly what you need right now. That's why inside this video, I'm taking you behind the scenes of IEP Parent Safeguards so you know what they are and how to advocate like a pro. Hey, what's up? I'm April Rarig, your special education advocate to make IEPs and 504 plans so much easier. Make sure to like and subscribe to get more videos like this in your inbox and follow us on Instagram at RiseEdAdvocacy. Here's what you need to know about parent safeguards. If your child has special education, then they have an individual education plan, sometimes known as program, also known as an IEP. All IEPs are regulated under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, also known as IDA law. Here's the problem. Your school, your district with your state also has to check all of the federal, the state, and the local policies and provisions. This makes it really confusing for families to understand what your options are at the table. That's exactly why I'm so excited that I'm talking to you about this now. So let me ask you something. Has your school sat you down and gone over your procedural safeguards? Have they gone into all the different rights that you have? More than likely not. That's exactly why, as we're talking right now, I want you to make sure to go below and get all those resources and supports so that your child can get the best help that they need right now. Are you ready to dive in? Let's do this. Let's talk about your safeguards, and here is the first thing that you need to know. Under IDA law, there's something called the 6 pillars or parts. These are extremely important and they're part of your safeguards. So maybe you've heard the following acronyms: FAPE, LRE, IEP, meaningful participation, comprehensive assessments. Yep, more than likely, you've probably heard your team talking about it. But let me ask you something. Have they explained what those words really mean? That's exactly why I want you to check out my first free guide, the 6 pillars of IDA, that give you the definitions, that clarify what those safeguards really mean. So when your team is talking about it, you know exactly what they are talking about. Make sure to grab that link in the description box below. Now it's time to talk about your second right. When does your team give you your safeguards? So let me clarify what I'm talking about. Every single year when your child has an IEP, you're supposed to get a copy of your safeguards. This also means when you put in a request saying, I would like a copy, they're supposed to give you safeguards. Also, pro tip, if your team makes a significant change in placement, discontinues services, refuses to change, or initiates or means starting special education, meaning your child gets their first IEP in the first testing, yeah, you're supposed to get a copy of your safeguards. So I've got a video, the 6 pillars of IDA, that dives so much deeper than just that free guide I mentioned earlier and digs into all the different parts or those pillars that I was mentioning. Make sure to grab that link in the description box below. This brings me to your third safeguard, your right to be included in every IEP meeting. What am I talking about? I'm talking about that your team must invite you. And under IDA law, you are part of the IEP team. And here's the deal, pro tip, is that you've been actually on the IEP team the longest. You also know your child best, and you are a wealth of knowledge for the team to consider your input and fully and meaningfully participate in the table. So let me ask you something. When you went to your child's last IEP, did your team give you notice? What am I talking about? I'm talking about, did your team give you written notification in advance so you knew about the IEP meeting and you also had time and you were available to attend at what's called a mutually agreed upon date and time? More than likely, during your career, maybe this hasn't happened. I know this happened to me so many times as a mom. If this happened to you, please put it in the comments below. I want to send you a link to make your journey so much easier. This brings us to your fourth parent procedural safeguard, saying yes or no to IEP services. This is known under IDA law as something called parental consent. Here's something that your school may not tell you. Before special education testing can be initiated, before your child has their first IEP and special education begins, you must give consent. You also have the option, pro tip, to give consent, to give decline consent, saying no longer, to withdraw your consent, or give what's called partial consent. So let me ask you, when it comes to checking the box on your child's IEP, depending on your state, because some states you have to check the box at every single IEP, others they just kind of give it to you. It sort of depends. Has your team laid out all that information? Has your team clarified what consent looks like? That's exactly why I want to share with you my very next resource. Check out my video, Don't Do This and IEPs, that helps you steer clear of 5 things that I wish I knew when I first started out many, many years ago. Make sure to grab that link in the description box below so that you can feel like you're fully participate and you fully understand your options when it comes to consent. This brings us to your 5th right as a parent under procedural safeguards, getting access to your child's IEP and educational records. Let me ask you something. When you've been to an IEP, have you just shown up and that's where they show you all the paperwork? Have you had an IEP meeting and you're like weeks later, days later, you get the paperwork? Yeah, that's not okay under IDA law. Under IDA law, you're supposed to be given access to the information. So if your child is having an IEP meeting, that means during the meeting, you have rights to view the records. That also means that after the IEP concludes, pro tip, you're supposed to get a copy of the IEP. That also means at any time, if you're like, I would like to view my child's records or check on the services being provided, if they've been changing your child's services all the time, yep, your team needs to give that there too. So it all comes down to knowing what to ask for and how to get it. This is exactly why I created something called the Parent IEP Request Template. Here's what it is. I created a fillable template as a school psych and as an advocate to walk you through how to ask for an IEP meeting, how to respond to your notice, getting drafts before the meeting, because pro tip, yes, you can, and being able to fully and meaningfully participate because you're doing everything that you need before the meeting and you're walking in the door so much more fully prepared. I use it with all my clients. It's a game changer. It makes your journey easier. Grab the link in the description box below. This brings us to one of the most important parent safeguards. It's the 6th one. It's called prior written notice, also known as PWN. Let me ask you something. Has your team explained what prior written notice is? More than likely, you've probably seen it. So you get prior notice when your child first begins special education service. But here's something your school may not tell you. Pro tip. You're also supposed to get prior written notice if you request for a change and the school says no, or if the school initiates a change in the identification, evaluation, or placement of your child. Has your school been giving you prior written notice when they make the change? This is exactly why I want you to get my free guide that spells out the 7 parts to prior written notice. So when you get the notice or you request, please send me notice when you're sending me a denial, grab the link in the description box below to make your next IEP meeting so much easier. This brings us to your 7th safeguard, something called independent educational evaluation, also known as an IEE. What is an IEE? An IEE is where if you disagree with your child's eligibility, if you disagree with a special education assessment, someone like me, the school psych, an OT, a PT, speech, different provider, then you can request for an assessment, meaning your school, your district needs to pay for it if you request it in a certain way. It's one of the most powerful things that you could know about as a safeguard, and it's in your procedural safeguards. Let me ask you something. If you've disagreed with the assessment, has your team shared with you what an IEE is and how to get it? Have you gotten an IEE? What is your experience at the table? Put in the comments below so that I can give you the best resources and make your journey so much easier. Your 8th safeguard. If you disagree with the IEP in terms of your child's eligibility, placement, or services, how do you resolve the disagreement? Let me ask you something. Has your team explained your options? Has your team explained your choices? Remember we talked about parental consent earlier? You always have options. You always have choices. Let me give you a pro tip. The worst thing that you can do is not express your disagreement. If you don't say anything, you don't put it in writing, then your team is not going to know. Not signing is not going to be one of them. You need to express in writing if you disagree. So what are your options to disagree? 1, you can request for a new IEP meeting. 2, you can request for a new special education assessment. 3, you can file for mediation. 4, you can file a state or federal complaint. And 5, you can request for a due process hearing. Here's one of the biggest challenges at the table, pro tip, when it comes to behavior and discipline. So many times there's disagreements in terms of the eligibility, in terms of the services. Is this you? Are you struggling at the table and you're like, oh my gosh, my child is really having a difficult time. They're getting suspended. They're getting sent home. They're getting sent home early. They're missing schools. Make sure to check out my video about IEPs and discipline so that you know your safeguards and all the options at the table, and you can feel so much better when your child is going through these challenges. Make sure to grab the link in the description box below. We're coming to the home stretch. Your 9th safeguard is something called stay put. What am I talking about? Under IDA law, if you disagree with the eligibility, placement, or services, remember we talked about that earlier, and you submit it in writing, it has to be in writing, pro tip, or your team is not going to have documentation of your disagreement, then your child's IEP services must continue. It's one of the most powerful rights under IDA law that you have as a parent. So during that time that they're resolving the disagreement, your child's IEP services continue. The only time that that doesn't happen, pro tip, is if your child's been assessed and they're found not eligible for special education services and you're like, I disagree. Well, if they started in general education, then that's a stay put status. So that means they start in the regular class. Just so you know, pro tip, IEPs do not expire. It's something I talk about all the time. So let me ask you something. Do you feel fully prepped knowing all this information for your child's IEP? I've created something called the Do-It-Yourself IEP Meetings Workshop that shows you all the different parts of the IEP. It talks about parental consent. It talks about notice. It talks about prior written notice. There's so much to an IEP meeting, and I want to make your journey easier, give you all the tools and the resources. It takes only about a day to complete. Pull up a seat at the IEP table and make your child's IEP the best that it can. Grab the link in the description box below to get started. This brings us to your 10th and final safeguard. It's something called the age of majority. So if your child turns 18, they become a legal adult unless you have guardianship or something else already set up. Once they become a legal adult, yes, that means that they're going to sign the IEP, they're going to attend the IEP, and you get invited as a guest, hopefully. So Is your child in high school? Are they approaching the age of majority? If so, under the safeguards, you're supposed to be informed, and so is your child. What is my suggestion? My suggestion is do not wait to show your child how to be part of the IEP meeting and include them right from the start. It makes it easier so that they understand how to access their disability supports, and more than likely, pro tip, they can take those supports to college. They can use them in their career because they've already been part of the IEP meeting. They understand their rights and they feel empowered at the table. So now you know 10 parent safeguards under IDEA law. Let me ask you something. Do you have a question? Do you have a comment? Put it in the link in the description box below. Do you want me to do more videos, expand on what I've already talked about? Yep, put it there too. Grab all those links in the description box below and check out our videos and resources and guides so that you can pull up a seat at the IEP table. Don't forget to like and subscribe to get more videos like this in your inbox, and check us out at Instagram, Rise Ed Advocacy. I'm April Rarig, your special education advocate. I can't wait to see you for our next video.